I've been learning about building sequential taillights for a long time, and I found a lot of easier ways that you can get some. And in this video, I want to break down all the different ways that I know of so that you can get yourself some sequential taillights. There's only 4 ways, and we're going to start right now. So the very first way is easy because your car might have just come with them. If you've got an Audi or a Lexus, or you've got a popular car with lots of aftermarket options, maybe the previous owner bought some cool sequential taillights, slapped them on the car, and now you got a set. This is a set of FD-RX-7 sequential taillights that I've had sitting in a box for a very long time, and they're cool. They're like Lamborghini style, and as you can see, it does a really cool sequential signal, just like that. Now, depending on where you live, what country, what regulations there are for the road, the color of the LEDs, all of these different little things, that might not be an option for you. You might not be able to have those kind of cool functions on your taillights and have them street legal at all. And if that's the case, that sucks. But there are countries that have options that we don't get here in the States. And there's different regulations and reasons, like how big of a space lights up at minimum when they're doing sequential, which is why we don't have some of the dope Lexus taillights that are available in Europe. As cool as the option to just buy some aftermarket lights for a few $100, I think these are like $800. There's other ones that are very inexpensive. What most people do is they'll just buy for their WRX a set of Subi Speed taillights that already have a cool little sequential signal in there, and there's no work to be done. They just spend the money, get the cool part. That's the first method of getting sequential taillights. Now the other method is gonna require you to get inside of your actual lights and install a bunch of DIY parts. These are the Corsomotion parts that will do red and amber so that you can make your own sequential taillights. And there's different styles where these ones, they actually have little domed lenses that can go on there for optics. These are really fun, really cool parts I'm gonna be working on my Mazda headlights soon, but you can do them as well for taillights. I think this board is gonna go in Mickey's Suzuki Cappuccino taillights. So that will be a fun DIY project that I do for him. But there's way easier ways that you can go about it as well, like you saw in one of the recent videos. And it does the cool sequential pattern as well. And you know, you could just tape it on your existing taillights. You'll kind of get this weird out-of-the-box function. Here's the thing though, if you are gonna open up your taillights, you're gonna have to cut into them, and if you're extremely lucky, you can stick them in the oven, but maybe only 1% of taillights actually work that way. And the ones that do the most commonly are your 90s JDM style taillights. So the old Super taillights, NSX, 300ZX, a lot of those older style taillights that are popular on those kind of JDM muscle 90s cars, those all can open up in the oven. Just so happens the Nissan GTR, the R35, that I do a lot of those custom taillights, also can just be heated up in the oven and the lens separated. But almost no other taillights work that way because they're fused together. One half goes to the other half, and then they're vibrated super fast to the point where the edges melt together and you have what's called an ultrasonic weld, which is why you gotta cut them open to even do any of the next steps that I'm gonna offer as a solution to getting sequential taillights. Now, like you might have seen on the last video, I chopped open a giant Volvo taillight, but I had to do the same thing for this cute, tiny little Lamborghini Gallardo taillight as well. I had to go all the way around with that multi-tool to just slice through and get a nice clean edge on there. You can also do like I did for the Subaru taillights and use a Dremel and just use the cutting blade, the plastic cutting blade on that to work your way around. If your lights are either sealed with some sort of a permanent sealant like these Lamborghini taillights, or they're just straight up melted shut by ultrasonic welds like on the Volvo or the WRX. Now, like on those Lamborghini taillights, I just took apart, not actually this company, I used Corsomotion, but this is Unique LED, and they have these little LED strips that you can snap off and solder together, do it in different shapes, and you can put these inside of your taillights, which means they have to be cut open, but you can take something that doesn't belong in there and put it into place and make it work and look really nice. You can do the same thing with universal strips or all sorts of different products, and again, you can just tape on a stupid little part on the top of it and call it a day, and that kind of falls into the same range of taking aftermarket DIY parts and putting them in place where they don't belong, but they might look kind of cool. So that's option number 2. Now let's talk about option number 3. The third way to get sequential taillights is to get a drop-in part. Now this I covered a lot more in depth a couple days ago, but the gist of it is it's a drop-in part made specifically for one type of taillight. and it will do the cool sequential stuff. You have all sorts of different modes. You can't really control this particular thing. If you can come up with your own part that drops right in and fits, you're gonna be solving a lot of people's problems and you'll be able to make some money doing it. All right, this is gonna be the fourth and final way that you can get sequential taillights. And this is going to only work out if you already have an existing circuit board inside of your taillights. Now, unlike using a DIY part where you're just gonna figure it out, put a little strip or a bunch of little pods and put them into place and hope that they look right, and also unlike a drop-in part that already has had that engineering figured out so that you know it's gonna sit in there the right way, the light's gonna aim out the right way, and it's gonna have a cool finished product because somebody's already figured that out for you. Unlike those two ways, this is a guaranteed perfect looking finish because it's gonna use the existing factory circuit boards. This is by far the hardest way to do it. It's gonna require the most amount of skill, and it actually will have the highest quality once you're done because you're using OEM grade components as opposed to an aftermarket solution, usually presented to you by somebody who doesn't have a giant multinational billion-dollar budget on developing crazy cool products like lights for Audis and Lexus and all this stuff. And like I've done many times in the past, I'm gonna show you my product versus somebody else's product, and I'm gonna put mine down a little bit. This is a really great product. This is actually made from ZLEDs for FlyRyde, specifically to solve the solution of the GTR taillights, where I wanted to have a drop-in board made. So this falls into the category of our third type of solution here, but this is gonna be a completely different method. So if you look on here, I've actually scavenged a couple of these little LEDs because this is a little parts board, but these all have the factory LEDs, which in all reality are much stronger and more expensive than the LEDs on this aftermarket option. This is great. This is better. If I get in here and I start modifying Nissan's original circuitry and I figure out a way to take control of their LEDs, number one, I know it's gonna fit perfect. Number two, I know that it's gonna be as bright as it possibly can be because these components are top notch. And then number three, I know that the end result is going to look factory just with my cool little twist to it where I can control each of those LEDs sequentially. Now I know a few of you guys have been asking me a lot for the breakdown, the installation video that shows how to take this WRX panel and do exactly what I'm gonna show you on that guy. Now my goal is to be able to make as many videos as I can that really break down all of the individual factory circuitry layouts and then modify those things and teach classes about how to do exactly that. And it's difficult and it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of money for me to do it, which is why I offer them in classes. And it's also very boring. It's not something that everybody wants to see, but I do think, and I truly believe, it is one of the highest quality things you can possibly put all of these different crazy parts to by modifying the highest end LEDs using the best parts on the market right now and getting a perfect end result. So to you guys that really want to know how to do that, that's why I offer classes. That's the way I feed my kids. That's what I want for my future, to help lots of people just like yourself know how to do this stuff ongoing. The whole like teach a man how to fish and he'll never go hungry again thing, that's kind of where I'm coming at this from. Where I'm not coming at it from is like, okay guys, in today's video, 8 out of 8,000 people are actually gonna care about how to do all these crazy in-depth little circuitry component things because they're never gonna actually go out there and use it, and it's not gonna do well on YouTube. It's not gonna help hardly anybody. So know that I have classes, and on YouTube, I will keep telling you about the what and the why, but on the how side of things, a lot of that is going to be kept inside of my classes, not because I'm some rich guy that wants to get richer and rule the world, but because I want to feed my kids and I want to keep doing this, and that's the way that I can fund the channel to do it. So I hope you got something out of this video. Comment below which of those 4 methods are probably most appealing to you. Would you rather just buy the function and have it come factory on the car, or come in a set of cool aftermarket taillights? Would you want to put some little DIY parts inside of your existing lights? Would you want to put a drop-in part, or would you want to modify the factory circuit boards yourself? Let me know.